Hi guys and welcome back. For today we're starting a trip around Anglesey and Wales, so this is going to be a multi-part series, and for the first video we're going to head up to an old copper mine called Parys Mountain. It's a staggering landscape, absolutely fantastic and well worth a visit. I'll show you on screen next what it looks like. So welcome back again. We're off on an adventure in the sunshine. So for the next, I think 3 or 4 days, we're due a little bit of a heat wave in the UK. So it's going to be about 26, 27 degrees. And I'm making the most of that by going on a trip that I've had in the works for a little while. It's 2 fundamental targets. One is Anglesey and the other is the Mac Loop. So let's do them in order. So I've just set off, it's 9:30 in the morning, I've just set off and I'm riding down to Conwy in North Wales. That should take us about 3 hours or so, and from there I'm going to do a little lap of Anglesey. I've done Anglesey a couple of times before, and it's a great spot. There's plenty to see and do there. We've got a few key things we're going for. An old copper mine called Parys Mountain up at the northeast of Anglesey, and the colour of the rocks is just phenomenal. It's a lovely place to walk around, and I really enjoyed visiting there last time I was on Anglesey. From there I'm going to somewhere I haven't been to before. It's only about a quarter of an hour from Parys Mountain, and it's an abandoned brickworks on the coast, a bit of a ghost town thing, and I'd like to have a walk up there and see what it looks like. So the journey down, I've chosen to go the scenic route. We're going to do a bunch of A roads, including over the Cat and Fiddle, which is a nice road. So it's a good journey over there. There's a little bit of M road, I think it's the M56 we go on before Llandudno, and then we hit the North Wales Expressway, which is sort of dual carriageway, fast road all the way. And that'll take us all the way to Conwy. And from Conwy it's A roads all around Anglesey. They don't do motorways there. So it's a nice ride. There are faster, more direct routes. If I was in a car, I probably would just do something like the A50 and head down that way. But because I'm on the bike, I wanted to enjoy the journey as much as the destination. And it is a lovely day. I'm super lightweight today in terms of gear. I've taken all the linings out of this jacket. No over trousers today, just the Kevlar jeans, and I've got my lightest gloves. They're quite breathable, you get a good flow of air through these. So I'm hoping I don't bake too much today. So we'll head on down, we'll ride over across towards Buxton, and then up the Cat and Fiddle, through Macclesfield, and then start heading west into Wales land. In terms of the gear I've got with me, because I'm camping, I've brought water, first aid kit, torch, hammock, sleeping bag. I brought a proper pillow, which is so nice to have when you're in a hammock. So I've got quite a few bits and bobs there. In terms of camera equipment, I've got the Canon R5, the 15-35 2.8, and I've also got the 28-70 to walk around with. The bike, Honda VFR 800 2003. Great for a journey like this. It's fast enough to have some fun on the twisties and cover the motorway miles safely, and it's comfortable enough to sit on for 4 or 5 hours without dying. So welcome to Parys Mountain. I'm going to go around it the opposite way to what I did last time, but as you can see it's quite cool. Got lots of colourful rocks there, and as we go up here you'll see some far-reaching views with some darker reds, and it's just a nice place. I do recommend it. If you're into geology at all, you'll love it. I just want to show you what it's like to walk around here. The colours are just extraordinary all around you. You're walking on yellows and reds and greens. It's just such a cool place to come to. For today's shot, we were shooting with the 15-35 lens, and we were at a focal length of 26mm on the final picture. Our shutter speed was quite high. We were up at 1/500th of a second, and that was even with the ISO down at 50 on low. The aperture was at 5.6, and all of that made a well exposed shot.
The reason the shutter speed was so high is because it was such a bright day. Even with a 50 ISO and the aperture cranked up to 5.6, it was just a really bright scene. Now, you've got a choice of 3 different parameters you can adjust to change the exposure. You've got ISO, lower is better for noise, so we started at 50, and then a toss-up between aperture and shutter speed. So which one do you use? Well, if you turn the aperture up, it tends to make bigger jumps in how dark an image is. Whereas if you adjust with shutter speed, you tend to have smaller increments and controls over it. In this case, anything over an aperture of about f5.6 and upwards is going to essentially look the same on the final image. So I chose 5.6 as a starting point, tweaked with shutter speed. Conversely, what I could have done is chosen a shutter speed of, say, 1/200th of a second, which is enough to do a handheld shot, and then bump the aperture up to f8, f11, just to make that exposure triangle work. It doesn't really matter which you choose in this case. There are certain occasions, such as if you were doing fast-moving subjects, where you'd want to increase the shutter speed over the aperture. And conversely, there might be situations where you wanted a slow shutter speed, so you'd use the aperture to control the light. For today's shot, it was a landscape, so I was happy to just set the aperture where I wanted it and then use shutter speed to control the light. For other settings, we were using no subject to detect, and we were on an electronic shutter, and our shooting was single shot for today. I've just popped a few other pictures I took on the day to show you the sort of landscape that was there, and the colours were absolutely amazing. You can still see the old mining equipment in places, and quite like the tower. It's quite a photogenic place as well. Okay, so this is the spectacular Parys Mountain. It was a phenomenal landscape. I was a little bit worried that it wasn't going to live up to expectation, because the first time I went, I really didn't expect much at all, and this time I was expecting it to be spectacular because I enjoyed it the first time, and it was. It was absolutely great. It was a lovely sunny day, great colours in the rocks and the sky. It's just a nice place to be. It needs the lightest of touches, this picture as well. So first it's going to be sort of the framing and focusing. So if we draw a crop all the way across, you'll see we could drop onto the rule of thirds quite easily for the horizon. And I think we will start with exactly that. I do want to boost the brightness of the image and the vibrance and saturation a little bit, and I probably won't do much more than that. So let's start with the brightness. I'm going to do it through shadows and highlights, which we use a lot, but it just gives you really good control over the image. So I think that's going to fix our saturation as well. Okay, so shadows has gone up 10%, highlights has gone down 1%. That's pretty good. And then vibrance and saturation. So the vibrance of the rocks was already pretty impressive, but we'll push that a little further. So that's plus 20%, and saturation plus 4%. It's so naturally vibrant, you don't need to do an awful lot with it. I'll have a quick look at unshot mask. Yeah, so 79%, 0.9 pixel radius. That just tidies up the rocks a little bit. That's the shot. That's it, really. I'm just going to look at cropping it different ways now and see what looks the best to me aesthetically. Quite like the idea of squashing the crop out a little bit. It just pulls you in a bit further into the image. So I think I prefer that. Yeah, that's a nicer image. I'll run through selective colour. I'm interested in this red as much as anything, and we'll see what we get out of that. Okay, so the before and after, that's really just pulled out the detail a little bit and increased the vibrance around a few of the colours. It's just such a stunning landscape. It really is like being on a different planet. And that's it. It's done. That's Parys Mountain. Absolutely staggering sight. Well worth a visit if you're at Anglesey. I hope you enjoyed that, guys. If you did, do click like and subscribe and help support the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.